Okay. So apologies for that. The stream was ended abruptly, and we were cut off on accident. So, okay. Where did it cut off at? Was it just... Did it cut off when I was going through the Sephardic and the Cochin Hebrew here?
Yeah, just like start this section again.
Okay. So, what I was saying is, so we have these Hebrew Gospels written in Aramaic, not only from Sephard, Italy, but from Cochin, India as well. And feel free to go and download these PDFs, and you can match them up to our New Testament we have today. They're going to say the same exact things. This is just proof, more proof and evidence our New Testament has not been drastically changed at all. And not to mention, these writings are older than these, different doctrinal books that we've already covered previously. So, their claim is, all this has been changed so drastically. Well, there's no evidence to support that. And actually, the evidence supports opposite, that it really has not been changed drastically at all. And it says the same exact things about the Passover, about all these things, slaughtering the lamb, eating Passover, things like that. And, again, this is going to be my article I have wrote, and this is going to be chapter 4. I just want to kind of cover it quickly because I know Sister Germaine also wants to present as well. And I don't want to take so long that she's unable to do that. But basically what this goes through here, actually my entire article really covers all of this. But it goes over how, this Essene title was given to the sons of Zadok in order to discredit them and stop people from looking into them because they present so much truth. Everything that's written in the Dead Sea Scrolls lines up and says the exact same thing as the scriptures that we've just gone over all previously, sorry. Nothing is different in the Dead Sea Scrolls than what we have read so far, everything today. But what they do is they label them Essene, and it's not true and it's not accurate according to the community themselves. So this is going to go over what manuscripts were found in there. This is going to go over... So we have a quote from Hebrew scholar Miller Burrows. He's a pretty popular one. But we see of the 166 words in Isaiah 53, so this is just Isaiah 53 he's speaking about, there are only 17 letters, just letters, not words, in question. 10 of these are simply a matter of spelling, which does not affect the sense. 4 more letters are minor stylistic changes, such as conjunctions. The remaining 3 letters comprise the word light, which is added in verse 11 and does not affect the meaning greatly. So you can go look at Miller Burrows' work as well and other scholars. You will see that this is the same thing we see all throughout. So the claim that the Dead Sea Scrolls is just mistranslated and not what it says is, in quote, it's in fact not true. It's untrue. We could see there's evidence that statement is untrue. There's no evidence to back up that untrue statement. Just toss out all scriptures because it's wrong. The New Testament, it's wrong. Dead Sea Scrolls, wrong. The actual evidence says otherwise to that fact. The fact is, it hasn't been changed, and it has not been drastically changed. So this is going to be the Oxford Companion to Archaeology. So while some of the Qumran biblical manuscripts are nearly identical to the Masoretic or traditional Hebrew text of the Old Testament, some manuscripts of the book of Exodus and Samuel found in Cave 4 exhibit dramatic differences in both language and context. So these are the added festivals, the wood offering, the oil, things like that. That's what they're calling a dramatic difference. But as we can see, it's only the book of Exodus and Samuel that they claim have these dramatic differences. But if you read them, it's only because it's showing these festivals that should have been included in there in the first place. But in their astonishing range of textual variants, the Qumran biblical discoveries have prompted scholars to reconsider the once accepted theories of the development of the modern biblical text from only 3 manuscript families: the Masoretic, the original of the Septuagint, and of the Samaritan Pentateuch. It's now becoming increasingly clear that Old Testament scripture was extremely fluid until its canonization around AD 100, and aka Rabbi Akiba, which actually, we're going to go over that on our Sabbath fellowship, what Rabbi Akiba did and all that. But as we can see, even scholars and, these schools, things like that, they claim that, look, there's really no huge differences in what's written and what we see in our scriptures. And this is going to go, let me just kind of breeze over it. So this is just going over some of the other books that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls that are found in different translations of scriptures. And we could see that they were included in the Sons of Zadok's canon. But what we don't see is the book of Esther and things like that. Excuse me. And, there was also full scrolls found in the cave that were taken and hidden, put on the black market, like the full book of the Enoch scroll, not missing anything. And it's because they don't want us to know the truth. We've gone over that in the past as well here, talking about how Enoch has definitely been edited. And we have the Dead Sea Scrolls are actually evidence of how it's edited. Chapter 82 in our modern book of Enoch, it only goes to 82:20. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, you'll see it says verses after Enoch 82:20, and it'll continue into, the fall and then the winter. So actually, the Dead Sea Scrolls prove that what we do have has been tampered with, and it also proves these tamperings that were done. We can't just say all of this was, super tampered with without any kind of evidence to support it, just to support some kind of different doctrine. So, like I said, I don't want to go over all of this, but feel free to. I have the link there in chat, and if you're watching on YouTube, the link's always in the description. And these are just some of the books found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So the first one, of course, is going to be the book, and then the number after it is how many copies of these scrolls were found there. So we see Psalms had the most copies, then Deuteronomy, and then Enoch was the third with 25 copies of it found. The only ones that had more copies were Psalms and Deuteronomy. And then after Enoch, we see Genesis, then Isaiah, and then Jubilees. Jubilees is up here above most of these Torah books, like Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, the Minor Prophets, Daniel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Job, Tobit, Kings, Samuel, Judges, Song of Songs, Ruth, Lamentations, Sirach, Ecclesiastes, and Joshua. So we can see all these books were held in very high regard. All these books all align with each other with what we have. They all say the same thing as we can pretty much find in our Masoretic. And the proof of these edits and changes there's evidence of these changes, these lying pens of scribes. And like I said, we'll go more into that and about Rabbi Akiba and all that on our Sabbath fellowship. So let me just make sure there was nothing else. So I think this is just going to go through just the different, different ranks there that they had in the Qumran community, things like that. So this here was, what's going on here? I was thinking about playing this video. It's only 17 minutes, but I don't want to take up too much time for everybody. But so this was shared in our group the other day, and this just goes over the connection to the occult and that false vegan doctrine that's being pushed. And again, this is not saying if you choose to eat vegetables, it's bad for you. If you choose to eat only meat, it's bad for you. This is just really going into, or covers the esoteric connection and where it all really originated from. So I'll just go ahead and share that there. But really, it's an article as well. This video is just it's going through this entire article. It's just a video form of it. And it does explain that, like here, while not every, says vegan for the most part, but, plant-based diet subscribes to these ideologies. But this is where all of that came from. And it goes with, if you're going to say eating meat is a sin, this is exactly where that came from. And so we see here Romans 14, verse 2. Well, we'll go ahead and read 1, 2, and 3. But accept him whose faith is weak, without passing judgment on his opinions. I think that's a very important one, too, for newcomers. Like, for those of us who've been here a while, we cannot be passing judgment on newcomers or those not as strong in the faith or convictions that we have. We cannot be passing judgment on them because of this. But continuing on, for one person has faith to eat all things, while another, who is weak, eats only vegetables. And the one who eats everything must not belittle the one who does not. And the one who does not eat everything must not judge the one who does, for Yahuah has accepted him. As we can see here, it's exactly as I was explaining. If you choose to have a plant-based diet, go for it. If you choose to have a meat-based only diet, go for it. We cannot judge and condemn others or make it some kind of sin because others don't want to follow exactly what we are doing. And sadly, that's the path that our dear sister has fallen down. And it's only one part of the path of destruction she has fallen down. And she definitely needs prayers, that Yahuah shows her what she's doing. It shows her this destructive path to death she is on. But continuing, hold on. Yeah, okay, so Greg, the Sefer, those books are not going to match up in the Sefer because Dr. P So you can compare it to like Yah's scriptures. Yah's scriptures is a good one. Compare it to that, and you're going to see the changes and edits Dr. P made to the Sefer. He drastically changed things to fit his own doctrine in the Sefer. I'd be very, very careful of the Sefer, honestly.
Yeah, I've already put it to the side. I don't trust it at all.
There you go. Yeah, I know we've mentioned it a few times here, but yeah, it's
I
not
wish
to
I
be
would have
trusted.
bought. I wish I would have bought the Yah scripture before I paid $100 for that Bible, though.
Yeah, no kidding. I have the Sefer as well. I got a few of the extra books that came with it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good to have, but you know, it's definitely not my number one at all. And then, you know, I thought this was another important one because this is kind of, it pertains to our situation here as well in our group. You know, some have, you know, they worm their way in. They worm their way into households and they captivate vulnerable women who are weighed down with sins and led astray by various passions, who are always learning but never able to come to the knowledge of truth. Just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, so also these men oppose the truth. They are depraved in mind and disqualified from the faith. So this is pertaining exactly to this entire situation happening as well here with our dear sister. And you know, the Bible gives us warnings and standards and what to look out for. You know, watch out for wooing words of men. You know, if we're weighed down with sins and we're led astray by these various passions, we're trying to always seek something but never coming to the knowledge of truth. There's probably a reason for that. Maybe it's because we're listening to who? These men with their words of wooing. Just like we read right here at the beginning in Romans 16. Romans 16, 16, 17, and 18. These men with wooing words. And, you know, it's not just for women either, but even us men. You know, there's women that come into men with wooing words. And we could be weighed down with sin and passion and fall for, you know, what these women say. You know, I've been a victim of that myself. And just a few more things I wanted to go over real quick. So we only got a couple things left here to go over, and then hopefully you're there, Sister Germaine. Let me just double check. Yeah. So yeah, just a few more minutes here, and then it'll be all yours, sister. So it can be found in Exodus 26. But what we're seeing is the coverings of the tabernacle, which were animal skins. The coverings of the tabernacle were 4 in number: badger skins, ram skins dyed red, goat's hair, and the embroidered covering. So we can see all these skins were used to cover the tabernacle itself. And it goes into more detail when you read Exodus. So we see, you know, there's a little debate. Oh, was it a stag goat or this kind of goat? Well, that's just rumblings of men. But it was animal skins nonetheless. So if it was such a sin, and, you know, it's not okay to harm or kill animals, why were animals slaughtered, and then their skins used to cover the tabernacle. And they probably used the skins of the animals that were slaughtered for these sacrifices and offerings. They didn't just kill these animals for their skin. And then who else has animal skin coverings? It's Adam and Eve. Right here, Genesis 3:21. And Yahuah Elohim made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, and he clothed them. So we see animal skins were covering for Adam and Eve as well. And who slaughtered this? It says Yahuah himself made garments of skin. So who slaughtered the first animals? Looks like it was Yahuah. And okay, so this is just that we covered this earlier. I forgot I had brought it up over here. And this is actually what we had just covered, actually, Numbers 11. So yeah, no, in quick summary, the doctrine that has been shared in our group is a different doctrine. We see where its origins come from. We see where these books come from that were shared. These false Gnostic books that are put above scriptures and used for doctrine to cause a division. And, especially those of us who have enough discernment, we should realize this right off the bat, what's going on. As soon as we hear something that's being said, and it's like, well, I don't know about that, then probably what the person is saying is not true. And as we can see, yeah, people can woo with words. They can make something seem different than it actually is. Like, for example, the whole thing was, look, yeah, he sent quail, but, as soon as the meat was in between their teeth, they all died. Well, they forgot to mention the part where Yahuah promised them meat for a month. So no, not all the people died, clearly, and they ate of quail and other meat for a month. So isolation and twisting of scriptures can make anything seem like it's going to tickle our ears. We're going to be like, oh, that sounds good. This is why it's important to have a strong foundation in the Word. Yes, cherry picking, exactly. And yet, if anybody has anything they'd like to add as well, feel free.
So I got something. So, Yahuah was in the garden with Adam and Eve, correct?
Yeah.
And so Yahuah made the first animal sacrifice for the garments to cover them. So how did he come down here and do that without a body? Like, I think was that Yahusha? Because he was there from the beginning.
Yep. And guess what it says? It says the word of Yahuah came down in the midst of the garden.
So, I mean, isn't that verification that Yahuah is Yahusha? Or am I wrong?
For me.
Yeah, for me.
But yeah, that we've discussed that topic. We know.
Yeah, I know. I just see that. I just noticed it came up, and then I got another thing. It's kind of not on the topic either, but it just came up in my mind. So Yahusha. Well, I was gonna say that he picked out the lamb to slaughter, but I don't guess that it actually says that. So never mind, because he sent somebody to go get the Passover lamb.
Yeah.
So never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah. No, when the time came to be to slaughter the Passover, so yeah, someone was sent to get it, and then they're like, "Well, where do you want us to prepare to eat the Passover?"
I wonder if he did kill the Passover lamb though. Like, because he would be like he's the priest of the world, so But
he could have. And, just like Scripture says, all the things Messiah did couldn't even be written down in all the scrolls.
yeah. And I have
So
one more thing and then I'm done.
yeah, no, go ahead.
The 10 Commandments, like a lot of people say, like, this is where she's getting this, do not kill animals or whatever. But the commandments were written for man, for us, amongst each other. So when it says don't kill, it's not talking about don't kill animals. It's talking about don't kill each other, don't murder each other. And even then, it's like, if your life is in danger, it's permittable to kill somebody. If somebody walks up to my family with a gun and I kill them first, that's permittable. You shouldn't turn the other cheek in that scenario. My 2 cents. I'm done.
Yeah, no, exactly. And can everybody hear me okay? I know Germaine said I'm breaking up a little bit there. But no, so yeah, the command is do not murder. It's not do not kill. It's do not murder. What is murder? It's a premeditated act of anger to take somebody's life without any kind of meaning, things like that. Sure,
A
that pertains to
human life.
what's that?
A human life.
Yeah. A human life. I think it can refer to, like there's people who go around and they just slaughter and kill animals for their skin just for no reason. I think that could be considered in with murder. But murder is not slaughtering an animal for food. It's not slaughtering an animal for sacrifice. Murder is a premeditated act of anger or hate, and especially towards humans. And yeah, it's not kill, it's murder, because there's a big difference. And yeah, I know there's a lot more scriptures as well that cover all of this, and it will only reinforce more the idea, or the not even idea, the fact that if you choose to eat clean meats, you're not in sin. All these other books and doctrines that have been shared in our chat, we should stay as far away from as possible. And we could see this dangerous path that has unfortunately grasped a hold of our sister and even our brother Lee. But yeah, does anybody else have anything they'd like to add in there before Germaine begins what she has to present?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So when you say to present or a presentation, that's scary to me. I haven't got a actual presentation. I've just, I do have a lot of scripture. I have a lot to present, I guess, but I haven't got I haven't written anything out on what to say first or anything, but I'm just very open for discussion on the topic of removing the blood from the animal, the seething, boiling. So I'm going to be going on a whim, just like I was last time, and I wasn't prepared, and I'm still not prepared now. But I've had another 6 months to be able to, have that bit more of a fire started within me. Through Yahuah, I guess, and he's toughened me up just a little bit more. So
are you going to be taking questions then?
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I have one question about the blood in the meat.
Just hang on. Just don't hunt me down and kill me, Sumi.
No, I'm not. I'm only giving you one because I was just looking up something earlier, from
Yeah.
the last discussion we had. Okay, so would you say that white blood cells are blood?
White blood cells are blood. I haven't got that on the top of my head. Is that the bad part?
So white blood cells are the like antibodies that fight off infection. So when your white blood count is up, then you're usually fighting an infection. So it's white blood cells. You know, you have white blood cells and red blood cells, but they're blood
Yeah,
cells.
yeah.
So would you say that the white blood cells are also blood?
Well, I don't know. I haven't actually gone into
Well,
the
Germaine,
details of.
you're supposed to know these things.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
I don't know either. That's why I'm asking, because I know that
I
there's
know.
white blood cells in milk.
Yeah. I know things from a scriptural point of view, not from what science has portrayed or has broken things down to be.
Okay.
And
Maybe
Okay.
you
Well,
might
that's
like
all
to
I
listen to
had.
maybe you might like to listen to what I have to say, and then
Yeah. Yes, I
maybe
wanted to say to
bring.
get that off of my head real quick.
Yeah. What we do know is that even though when an animal has had its throat slit and a large amount of blood has been removed from the animal, there is still blood within the actual flesh. And I'm not talking about what you want to call myoglobin. I'm actually talking about blood cells. There is still a 2 to 9% of blood left within the actual capillaries of the flesh. And even so, there is still blood, hemoglobin, left within the arteries in amounts as well. Like not large amounts, but there is still blood within the dead animal that has been slaughtered correctly. But anyway, I will just say one thing with the way that the plant-based and vegan Torah community, what the road that they're going down is saying that because the scriptures say do not eat flesh with the blood, they've just gone bang, that's it, don't eat animals. They haven't gone into the meaning of what it means is to not eat flesh with the blood still remaining in it, because that is the life of the animal. So you made me all nervous and everything soon. But anyway, so I do have a bunch of scriptures regarding seething. There's heaps and heaps of scriptures of seething. I don't know whether people have been able to look in the other tab where I have written. I have shared all the scriptures for seething. In Exodus 16, it said that they sat by flesh pots, and the flesh pots are what they used for boiling out their meat. In some versions, it will just say cook, and just like the scriptures that say moon and not month, they've changed things up to support a narrative. And when you just see the word cook, you just assume that you can cook it any way you like, because that's what we do in today's society. We're used to roasting. We're used to frying, air frying, baking, grilling, barbecuing. So anyway, at Exodus 29, it says, Exodus 29:31, seethe the ram's flesh at the set apart place at the door, which is at the door of the tent. At the door of the tabernacle where the seething pots actually were placed. There are parts within the tabernacle where they actually had seething pots, and that's why it talks about in Leviticus 6, around 25, that there are earthen vessels. If you have an earthen vessel, or if you have a brazen or a bronze metal pot, if it's an earthen vessel, it has to be broken if it's been seethed. The animal has been seethed in there, because the scum, the blood, comes out and it will contaminate the earthen vessel. But if they used a brazen pot, they just had to scour it out and rinse it, and they could reuse it again. And the water was poured out because the blood needed to be, any blood that has been removed from the flesh, the lump of meat that goes in, their portion, it had to be poured out on the earth and covered, just as it is when an animal is slaughtered. That also has to be covered over, and that the life gets returned back to the earth. So no matter how it is that you have blood, whether it's from the broth, the water, that still has to be covered over. So when I do a day of slow cooking, I will remove the meat, I'll rinse the meat, I'll rinse all the scum, the blood, the cooked blood, and then my husband will take that pot out the back, and he will, have that hole, and he will pour it in there and then cover it. So I have got all the scriptures written over in another tab, but I'm just going to I'm slipping through a couple of them. Just ran away from me. The priests were told to take a portion, and that they were told to put their portion into pots to boil. They were never to eat off the altar. Whatever was there was, the kidneys and the fat and stuff like that. That was burnt up as an offering to Yahuah. The whole offerings were whole and burnt up to Yahuah, and then sometimes it sounds like they were allowed to eat a piece that was cooked burnt up. But when it says burnt up, it means like burnt up. They took their portion first, and they took it to their area where they could eat. And in the Leviticus priesthood setup, in Leviticus 8, they boiled the flesh at the door of the tabernacle, and they burnt up the leftovers by fire during that time. In Numbers 6:19, it says they boiled the shoulder of the ram for the Nazirite vow. It's a sodden. Some versions say boil, some say seethe, some say sodden. So that was an important setting up as well. That's a boiling. And then it's also interesting that Aaron's blessing follows in verse 22. Judges 6:19 is where Gideon prepared a goat for the messenger of Yahuah. And it talks about he poured out the broth. So we're assuming that it was seethed, it was boiled, because he talks about pouring out the broth on the earth, because that life needed to be returned back to the earth. And then actually it does say that the flesh part was burnt up. I'm not reading scriptures as verbatim, like as it is, because I've just got these in point form, just to just sort of nut it out. This is a huge study. I can talk for hours. It's taken us a couple of years to really nut that all through. And if I was to talk to someone properly, this video is not gonna. This discussion is not going to cover everything, but I'm just trying to do some stuff here. in Chronicles 35, King Josiah, when they realised that they needed to keep the commandments of Yahuah, he held a big, large Pesach meal. I'm just trying to go off my memory here, but it was like they weren't keeping the commandments correctly. He found the scrolls, he found the commands, and he celebrated. It must have been at the time of Pesach, obviously, and it says that they had that burnt, the Pesach offering, and then it says other Kadesh offerings boiled in copper pots and cauldrons. So the only meal that is to be roasted that contains the blood, which represents the life of Messiah, that's the only one that they can eat and roasted by fire. And the rest were offerings boiled in copper pots to remove the blood. Elisha in Kings 19, I actually just pulled that up in my Bible while Jeremy was talking. Kings, just 1 Kings 19. If I can just read that. Puppet. No. Sorry, my puppy. I just started. Sorry, Jeremy.
Sorry.
It's just a truck, so she's barking at that. Sorry. 19:19. So he departed thence. I'm reading from King James Version. So he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was ploughing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12. And Elisha passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again for what I have done to thee. And he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. There's another situation of knowing that they needed to remove the blood. In 2 Kings 6:24, due to a famine and a lack of food, the women boiled meat. They boiled their sons. They had to eat. They boiled their own children to remove the life and the soul before eating the flesh. They weren't going to just sit there and roast up their... This is a disgusting, sad situation. And it shouldn't have been done, obviously, because it's cannibalism. But still, they actually had to see that out. They removed the life before eating their own children. And then also in Lamentations 4, from 9 to 10, the merciful woman boiled their children for food, and the life and the blood needed to be removed first. In Zechariah 14:17 to 21, I think I might have called that. Oh no, I might have lost it. It says that the pots will be Kadesh in the millennial reign. Some will come and take them and see when keeping the feasts. As you can see, I'm not prepared, but I was hoping to read some things. I've been jumping up and down between things.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks, Jeremy. Super nervous because I know I have someone who doesn't understand or believe at this stage. So it's like I'm on trial.
Germaine,
So
you are not on trial. I love you, sister. I'm just silly. I'm going to eat my meat until the Father really just shows me. I mean, I can see what you're
of
talking about,
course,
and I agree that they see the meat in many cases, but I just think that like maybe it was just for temple sacrifice and stuff, or like the feast, like you just said, like not for everyday living, because that would be, I mean, that's it's just not rational.
it seems
Usually,
hard in the life that we live in, but it's not hard at all. And once you get, when you just have to stop eating bacon or eating something that you weren't allowed to eat and it was just a normal thing that you did, or, just going in from Christianity to Torah, it just seemed unrational to go and camp out there for a week. It seemed unrational to have unleavened bread for a whole week and not be able to have bread, and then remove stuff. Like it all does seem like a burden sometimes, but it actually, as you just do the process, it's but of course you can't do these things until you actually truly believe in your heart that it is something that you are required to do. And I truly believe, after going through all the dot points, and I'm only just covering a couple here, I've got heaps more, but there's no way I'd touch a piece of steak now. Like, I won't buy anything from out at the restaurants because, well, first of all, it's really bad meat. But we know that it all contains blood. The only thing that we will eat is fish because it is a different flesh. It says there are different types of flesh. There are flesh of beasts, there are flesh of birds, and different types of flesh with fish. So fish, as you know, has a different colour. The blood is only in particular areas of the fish. Sorry, I'll just continue, Dave. That's okay. Thank you for saying that nicely. Every time I'm touching these, I keep getting kicked out of my area, so I have to keep going back and scrolling. So in Zechariah 14, the pots will be Kadesh in the millennial reign, and it does talk about. Hang on, if you wouldn't mind, 2 seconds or 10, just a sec. 14:17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King Yahuah of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague, wherein Yahweh or Yahuah will smite the heathen and come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day there shall be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yahuah, and the pots in Yahuah's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Yehudah shall be holiness unto Yahuah of hosts, and they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein. And in that day there shall be no more Canaanite in the house of Yahuah of hosts. That's pretty cool. Ezekiel 46, super important as well. I'm just going to find Ezekiel. I did have it. My little marker fell out. Hang on. Ezekiel 46 is very good. And I'm using a Bible that I don't normally use. And can everyone hear me okay?
Good job.
For some reason I can't hear you very well, Jeremy, but I think you said everything was pretty cool.
Sometimes I can't hear my mic's not muted. But no, you're doing a good job.
Okay, thank you. So Leviticus 46:19 to 24. I can just start from 20. And then he said unto me, this is the place where the priest shall boil the trespass offering and the sin offering, and where they shall bake the grain offering, that they bear them not out into the outer court to sanctify the people. Then he brought me forth into the outer court and caused me to pass by the four corners of the court. And behold, in every corner of the court there was a court. In the four corners of the court there were courts, joined of 40 cubits long and 30 broad. These four corners were of one measure, and there was a row of buildings around it, around about them four, and it was made with boiling places under the rows around about. And then he said unto me, these are the places of them that boil, where the minister of the house shall boil the sacrifices of the people. Some versions will say cook, but when you go into the Hebrew and look all that up, it's seething, it's boiling, it's sodden, it's wet. So I'll just go into then that's just seething alone, and then I do have another big amount of area that just talks a lot about not eating flesh with the blood. Jeremy did touch on a few of these in Genesis, to not eat flesh with its life, its blood, and that's regarding the covenant. Jubilee 6, that is a massive, amazing chapter. It's one of my favourite chapters due to it's covering so much regarding the animals and the covenant and not eating flesh with the blood and Shavuot, and to renew that oath of not eating flesh with the blood every year. Read it, please, really slowly. In this light, you can read it however you used to read it, but just look at it in this light, to not eat. And they swore an oath to make that covenant. Jubilee 6:10, and Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahuah throughout all the generations of the earth. But then after, in 18, after Noah's death, they corrupted it and they ate blood. In Jubilee 7:23 to 34, it says instructions not to consume meat with the blood. Jubilees 11, Noah's children began to consume blood after Noah died. Now, what I am thinking is that they did corrupt. After having a Pesach every year, they've actually got to taste flesh with the blood, that roast, that lamb. And I can tell you now, the Passover meal of eating a roast lamb with the blood after not eating any blood in meat for a whole year, that's a very special meal. It's like, oh yeah, not that I love blood or anything, and I know that sounds really odd, but it's super special. It's very tasty, okay? And I believe they've gone, why can't we have this every day? This is really delicious. I'm sorry if anyone is plant-based here and thinks that eating meat is disgusting, but having a roast lamb after seething meat for a whole year is a very, it's nice. And I think that's why they fell. They just went for the lust of the flesh. That what's the God is their belly, or their belly is their God. Sorry, it's like that. It's just a desire. It's an evil desire. I'm not calling anyone evil right now. It's just this is what the scriptures say. Jubilees 21. It goes over it again in 16 to 19 to not consume blood. And they shall cook, and Jubilees 29, it says, Jubilees 49:13, and they shall not cook it with water or eat it raw, but roast. So they're going over the Pesach meal there. We believe it does symbolize the life, because we know the life is in the blood, and the Pesach meal symbolizes the lamb. And we know that Yahushua is the lamb, and it's his blood that covers our sin and that gives us life. And that's the only blood that we are to consume. Enoch 98, it says, he who does evil and consumes blood. Enoch 7:5-6, giants began devouring flesh and drank blood. Aha. So this is where it actually says they drank blood. There's barely a scripture in all of the scriptures we've read where it talks about drinking blood. And as we know, the giants related to Nephilim, who are related to the elite of today. Gosh, Jeremy, this might not be able to go on YouTube, but they're the ones, they are drinking blood. And so that just really connects dots with me, and it's getting the world to think that the evil thing that is happening is that they're drinking blood. So yeah, let's not drink blood. We can eat meat, but just don't drink that blood that gets drained out. And people are actually drinking blood that gets drained out. I have a school friend who I was friends with on YouTube, and he's a butcher, and we're not friends anymore. I haven't said anything to what he is doing, but he was actually showing videos of him draining the blood of the bull, putting it in a glass and drinking it on film. And I'm just like, unfriend. I'm sorry, Matthew, you must go. I can't see this, but anyway, digressing. Yeah, so we are led to believe that the sin is drinking the blood is what the elites are doing. They've got it plastered all over everywhere, thinking that that's the evil. That's the evil that the Father is talking about. And yes, that is absolutely evil. But all through scriptures, it's saying, don't eat the flesh with the blood. And he's not just talking about things strangled only here, because in Acts 15 it talks about, don't commit adultery, don't have idols, don't consume things strangled, and, abstain from blood. So there's two things regarding blood here. I'm just going to go back.
Germaine, I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever boiled meat and then roasted it?
So no, I haven't, but I have boiled meat and then added it to a stir fry, sprinkled it on pizza, put it in a wrap, put it even in through fried rice. When you boil meat, it does break it down quite a lot, and it's very easily digestible. It just melts in your mouth. And I think, I don't know if I'm answering your
Sorry to
question or just going
distract
to
you.
start rambling. No, that's fine. That's excellent. I just don't know how much. I didn't answer just that one question. I just went off. But no, I haven't roasted.
No, that's okay.
Because when you roast things or fry, you can see the steak and then put it in the pan and just brown it up if you like. But what we have also learned is that when you fry, bake, roast, grill, when you heat things with a flame, you're actually enhancing the advanced glycation end products, which causes a degrading of your cells. When you, the higher amount of baking and frying and burning and seething and barbecuing and whatever, you're making that food not good for your body. You start to cook on the inside yourself is like an easy way to say things. And so I think that the Father is really protecting us, because when you do studies on just boiled food, steamed food, wet food, the advanced glycation end products don't rise hardly as much, and so it's easier on your body and your cellular molecular structure to actually just eat a lesser heated item. Boiling water will only rise to a particular temperature. I can't remember that off the top of my head, but that is clean and easy for our body. But if you fire the crap out of it, it's really hard. Stop it, it's just something. Yeah, so roasting, it'll just fall apart. You're welcome to do that, but I have not. I just know it's just going to fall apart. We do find that when we do pull it out of the water, depending on how long you did it for, as to how easily the piece of meat stays together. Sometimes I've been out all day and I've come back and I've had it too high for too long on the slow cooker high temperature. Accidentally I've left it on and I've come home and it's just like, yeah, little pieces you have to pull out bit by bit. It's very hard to clean, but just a few hours, like 5 hours, it's pretty good. Another thing I'd like to touch on is 3 times it says to not seethe, not boil a kid, which is a baby goat, in its mother's milk. People have got all sorts of answers of what they think that means. And I know, as a person who loves to drink tea instead of coffee, if you put a tea bag in a cup and pour boiling water on it, it draws out the tea leaves, the tea, it draws it out really nice. You get a nice strong cup of tea. Everything comes out of that tea bag. But if you put some milk in first, and you've got your tea bag in there, you put some milk in, and then you pour hot water on, you're going to have a very weak, very, very weak cup of tea, because the milk stops the drawing process of the tea bag. And so what I believe that they're doing is they thought, well, yeah, we'll just sieve it in milk because that'll hold the blood in a bit better and it'll taste a lot nicer. This is my thinking, and I think that they did do that with kids because they had a lot of kids. They had a lot of baking. They would have used their lambs and their sheep more for offerings and sacrifices, more so than goats.
Can I speak on for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
The bull and the kid and the mother's milk, I did research on that one time, and there was actually a ritual, like a pagan ritual, where they would worship their gods by bulling the animal in its mother's milk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we know that all things, sometimes, not all things, but many of these practices come from, the Creator and what He's saying and doing as well. Maybe they've taken it on and going, oh, yeah, we'll do it like that because that tastes good. I don't know. I'm just saying He has said it 3 times to not do it. And I know in practice that when you do something in milk, it just doesn't release. It doesn't release the tea bag. And I'm assuming if you were to boil a piece of meat in some milk, you're not gonna get anything coming out of that thing. It's gonna be all still in there. They go, oh yeah, we're boiling. Yeah, we'll tip out that milk, but we'll just hold back a bit of blood for a bit of flavour. That's just a thing that I think is going on. And there are other people having different opinions on that, but yeah, that's fine. I'm just correlating it as to seething, and I know that there's that's what does actually happen because of a cup of tea. I'm a tea drinker. Just have to slip through some things that I've already said. In Leviticus 7, 23 to 27, it says to not eat any manner of fat and blood, whether it of fowl or beast, in any of your dwellings. It's not saying fish there, but to not eat of any fowl or beast in any of your dwellings, and so that the fat can be used, for external purposes, but to not eat of it. It's just kicked me out again.
Germaine, you don't eat the fat. You don't eat the fat either.
No, we don't. So
Okay.
before we put the meat in, we remove the fat. And also when seething, the fat will sit all on the top of the boiling water as well. We've learnt that fat is what actually protects the flesh from being toxic. All toxins and stuff will go to the fat. So we know we're not supposed to eat the visceral fat, but we also remove all the rest of the fat as well, because we know toxins are within the fat. Leviticus 17, do not eat any manner of blood. The life of the flesh is in the blood. I just also wanted to go back to Jubilees because something's just triggered my memory. And, we have the morning and the evening sacrifices. When you read in Jubilees, it says, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's regarding the covenant. And it says that's why the morning and evening sacrifices were set up, is for you to remember to not eat flesh with the blood. Jubilees 6:13, I'll just start. Now you command the Israelites to not eat any blood, so that their name and their descendants may continue to exist before Yahuah your Elohim for all time. This law has no temporal limits, because it is forever. They are to keep it throughout history, so that they may continue supplicating for themselves with blood in front of the altar each and every day, in the morning and in the evening. They are continually to ask pardon for themselves before Yahuah, so that they may keep it and not be uprooted. So I think that is the reasoning for the morning and evening sacrifices. And then in 15, I'll just say, he gave Noah and his sons a sign that there would not again be a flood on the earth. And he put a bow in the clouds as a sign of the eternal covenant. But yeah, please do read through. I'm going to have to shut my door with all these. I have to get the books off my thing. So I had my front door wide open for some air, but I've just closed the glass. So it'll sort of calm down her little barks. She barks at everything. She's quite a good guard dog, but and she's being really good right now, just by the way.
Well, that's good.
We do have cars that pass by our house quite close, and so she doesn't like it. So I'm sorry if I'm taking too long. I don't know what I just read. Oh yeah, so I was at Leviticus 17, where it says that the life of the creature is in the blood, and I've given it to you to make atonement for yourselves on the altar. So that correlates back to Jubilees 6. And it's where the blood that makes atonement for one's life. Now, here's another thought that just hit my head just now. If you are plant-based and vegan or whatever, and you are saying that these scriptures aren't even meant to be here, that it was added by man, then what you're actually potentially doing is scrapping this blood that makes atonement. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, it could be a scary situation to be in, to say that that's not even a thing. Okay, so in Deuteronomy it does say in 12, and I think you touched on this, Jeremy, it says to not eat the flesh, to not eat the life, the blood with the meat. This is dot points, by the way. This is not like reading exactly from scripture, because I've just tried to make things small as an explanation, and in some areas I do actually have it written, but it's an ascending offering seen in Leviticus 8. We believe this means to only eat the meat of the portion of that particular offering to be eaten at the door of the tent of appointment, which means at the flesh pots where the meat is sieved. 15 says, notwithstanding, so this is Deuteronomy 12, verse 15, notwithstanding thou mayest eat and kill flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as in, if you are clean or if you are unclean, you can eat. But in 16, only ye shall not eat the blood. Ye shall pour it upon the earth as water. So after you sieved it, the broth, which is the scum and the blood, and some versions say rust. It doesn't say scum, it doesn't say blood, it says rust. So that's throwing people for a spin as well. To pour it upon the earth as water, because the life needs to return back. Deuteronomy 14 says again to not see the kid in its mother's milk. Judges 6, where Gideon prepared the seed goat. Chronicles, Josiah. Okay, here's another one. 1 Samuel, chapter 2, where the corrupt priests, read this whole story, but they wanted not the sodden or the boiled meat. They wanted it raw or roasted, and that was a very bad thing. Just read that story in 1 Samuel chapter 2. Things didn't go well for them because they were impatient. They didn't want that boiled meat. They wanted it roasted. These were the priests, so they got to do what they wanted, and things went good. 1 Samuel 14.
I'm sorry. Maybe they were just wanting to do what they usually do at home. That's what I feel like whenever I hear that.
So there is evidence to support against that, because it says, I might have skipped past it, but it does say within all your dwellings, not just at the sacrifices or the offerings or the temple stuff. It's talking about in all your dwellings. I don't know where that one is. It's back up the top again, but yeah.
I've read that one. I've read that before.
Yeah. And it says to not eat the blood in all your dwellings. In 1 Samuel 14, Saul's army was starving and they ate with the blood. They didn't boil or sieve. I went over Kings 19 and also about the ladies boiling their children, Zechariah, Job. Job 41:20, out of his nostrils goeth forth smoke as out of a seething pot or a cauldron. It's just supporting to say that there's a seething pot. Ezekiel 24 is something I shared the other day for people to please read. That's pretty hectic, that one. It's big one. I do have it. It is read best from the Septuagint, and I normally read everything from the Septuagint, but I haven't. I've just copied into my notes from. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it quickly. Just a sec. Sorry. It's talking about the judgment, and that he shows you how to. Well, it speaks about showing it on seething and her blood. She did not cover the blood. She did not pour out the blood. So then he won't cover her blood either. So of course I can't find it. Just a second. Two and 8. Ezekiel 24. Okay. I'll just go to 1:14. Okay. And the word of Yahuah came to me on the 9th year, on the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, saying, Son of man, write for yourself daily, beginning today, when the king of Babylon directed himself against Jerusalem, today, and speak a parable against the rebelling house. And you shall say to them, this is what Yahuah says, set up the kettle and pour water into it, and throw the portions into it, every good portion, the leg and the shoulder, stripped from the bones, taken from choice livestock, and burn the bones underneath them. They boiled, and its bones were kindled in the middle of it. On this account, this is what Yahuah says, O bloody city, kettle in which there is, this one says rust, but in another one it says scum, which is the blood, and the rust did not come out of it. The blood did not come out of it. It carries it off according to its parts. No lot has fallen upon it, for its blood is in the middle of it. I have arranged it upon a bare rock. I have not poured it out on the earth for the earth to cover it, for my wrath to arise to avenge vengeance. I have placed its blood upon bare rock so as to not cover it. On account of this, this is what Yahuah says. I will also enlarge the people and increase the wood and light up the fire in order that the meat may melt and the sauce be reduced and it be set upon the coals in order that it may be thoroughly burned and its bronze grow hot and its uncleanness melt in the middle and its blood or scum come to an end. And its great rust, scum, certainly will not come out of it. Its rust, scum, will be disgraced. Its blood will be disgraced because you defiled yourself. And what if you should not be cleansed again until I will fulfill my wrath? I, Yahuah, have spoken, and it will happen, and I will do it. I will not distinguish or even show mercy. I will judge you according to your ways and according to your devices, says Yahuah. On account of this, I will judge you according to your bloodshed, and I will judge you according to your devices. So yeah, impure and plentiful for rebelling. I'm sorry, I normally read it in this particular one. I read it in another one where it does say scum. But anyway, that's a pretty big one there. It didn't stand out to us at first, but after you read it a few times, it's like, ooh. It's not good. He will seethe and then roast. There it is, Marissa. It's not a good thing. But I'm not saying you can't do that with your food. I'm just speaking out loud before I think.
Yeah.
Now, Ezekiel 33. This is a pretty groovy one. It says that they eat with the blood and lift up the eyes to your idols. So they're roasting a roast, and they're lifting up their eyes to their idol. And then I've also got, keep this in mind when reading Isaiah 44. Also, in Ezekiel 33, it correlates with that scripture there in 25. It actually correlates with Acts 15. It's talking about adultery, idolatry, and eating with the blood. And they're both saying the same thing. So Ezekiel 46, yeah, I did that one. Okay, Isaiah 44. In light of what I've just all been saying, it's said, and you just go back and read that, the whole thing. It's talking about them lighting a fire, setting up an idol, roasting a roast, and bowing down and looking up at their idols. And so then looking back at Ezekiel 33, it says they eat the blood, eat with the blood and lift up your eyes towards your idols. So those two kind of connect there. Isaiah 65:4, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh, and the broth of abominable things is in their vessels. They're probably swigging on some broth there, whether it be whatever they're putting in there, but yeah, they're eating swine's flesh and broth of abominable things. Acts 15, you went over that. Yeah, and then I started adding some more stuff afterwards, bit by bit as we're going through things. But Genesis 4, it talks about Abel's blood, his life. It cried out from the earth when it was spilled on the ground. You know, his life was in his blood. It's not a really correlation for seething or anything, but it's just important regarding blood hitting the earth and it being the life. Sally
No,
brought up another one.
that's a good one, Germaine, for my debunking, because if the life cried out,
yeah,
whenever Cain killed Abel, then the life was completely out. It cried out, so it was on the ground, and so there was obviously still blood inside of him. The life was gone, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no one was going to eat him and seethe him.
I don't know. Those women that boiled the babies might have.
Yeah, to get all of the blood out. And what the plant-based people are saying to support things as well is actually they're twisting the two characters up. They're saying that Abel brought plants and Cain brought a dead animal. They're saying that was changed. I don't know if I believe that, but I haven't looked further into that one. I'm just seeing little bits and pieces here and there. In Psalms 22, Mashiach, I have been poured out like water, and all my bones have been spread apart. That's what happens when you put something whole. If you would put something whole in a pot, or with bones in there, the bones will detach. It'll all be spread apart. My heart has become like wax. It has melted in the midst of my inwards parts. My strength is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue is cleaving to my jaws, and to the dust of death you are appointing me. I'm seeing something in there. I can't quite bring it all out, but there's a correlation in Psalms 22. That's just some scriptures that I'm sharing to support that we need to remove blood from the flesh, from the meat, even though it has been slaughtered, the main artery blood is poured out on the earth, and it is covered. That is the life. But if we are to eat of that flesh of that animal, we believe that it is to be boiled. The blood, the scum, needs to come out, and it does. And it's interesting also with the sacrifices and things that he does say to sprinkle some salt on there. In the seething pot, you will find that the salt draws out the blood. If you do it without salt, it'll still draw out, but we find that when you put salt in and a bit of herbs and stuff, spice it well, it really draws out a lot. And I think that's another reason why salt was also such a commodity, and spices, because you needed those spices to go back. Once you've poured out the broth, the blood, the scum, everything goes out. You rinse and you put it back in the pot. You put in some fresh water or whatever you want, and then you add your spices and your vegetables and things like that. You're having a clean, set apart meal. Yeah, we use salt quite a bit. There's a lot of conversation regarding this whole topic. But yeah, I could go for a long time. I just don't know where to go from here unless someone wants to talk to me and ask me something, or yeah.
No. It's
What are your
all good,
thoughts?
sister. You did a good job. And, as we can see, it is in scriptures that we see this stuff. It's not, unlike the latter doctrine, not based in scripture. But this also goes to show, whether you would agree with it or not, I suggest definitely taking it to the Father, because
Yeah.
I can see everything Germaine is saying here. And, like I said, it's okay to disagree, but please study it out and take it to the, take it to the Father.
Yeah, I'd just also like to add that when we were, for about a year or so, we were just really convicted. Sorry, not really convicted at that stage. It was just the little nuggets, the little seeds started popping into our heads regarding the Sabbath and if it was a Saturday or not. We kind of had the feeling that it wasn't, but really hadn't looked into it too deeply. And so we were just fasting, praying, and he just started revealing it regarding the blood, and it was just popping up all over the place, and we were just starting to see these scriptures. And it's interesting that years prior, probably 5 years prior, we'd come across the subject before, and you know how you just go, oh, don't be silly, we get to eat roast lamb, and you just throw that whole baby out with the bathwater right there. You throw that meat out with the broth right there. And for years, we didn't eat a lot of meat anyway, but it was just right back there on the shelf, at the back of the shelf, thinking we never, ever had to touch that topic again. And it just started popping up and seeing it through scripture. And he laid out that conviction regarding the Sabbath the same week as the blood, because we were at a point where it's like, Father, it's going to be hard to change the Sabbath from Saturday to any other Gregorian day year by year because of people around us, family, friends, work, like whatever. Father, this is like a hard task. This is a hard ask. Please. But then in reality, we only want to do what you want us to do. We don't want to, be fearful of man. We don't want to please man. We just want to please you. So, Father, please show us this. And because our hearts were at such a point of, we'll do anything. You just tell us, man, we'll do it. Just show us we want to be pleasing before your sight. And at that same week, it was like a ton of bricks with the blood. And we were like, yes, sir. Yes, you just lead us and show us. But even through the first 6 months, we were trying to look at it as from the other point of view of how can someone debunk this? How can we debunk this? Because we know people are going to want to debunk this. We need to know without a shadow of a doubt. Straight away, I mean, we were actually eating quite a lot of meat because we were starting to go down the carnivore route. I was starting to really enjoy making burgers and lots of spices, and we were having it for every breakfast every morning and making roast. And I've never been into meat in so much in all my life. And I feel like the Father really had to get me to that point to throw it away with all my heart to please only Him. It was hard, but from that day where we felt the true conviction of it, we put it down, put it to the test. A little bit of sorrow in the fact that, it just doesn't taste as good. How are we going to make it taste a bit better? Some people say they actually prefer it, but I'm being honest by saying it does taste better with the blood, myoglobin, whatever. It does taste better, but over time, after going through the scriptures and really, really fleshing it out, yeah, it's one of those, once you go flat, you can't go back. It is so evident.
Yeah.
You start seeing things, and there's no way you would get an unseethed piece of meat on my lips. No jerky, whatever you guys call it, jerky, dried meat,
Yeah.
none of that.
Yeah. The jerky stuff. Yeah. Honestly, I haven't even really had any jerky in years. So, but yeah, no, it's pretty popular over here.
So all the scriptures that I
sorry,
have, all the scriptures that I have that I've been reading from, I have put it in the library tab of Do Not Eat Flesh with the Blood. I also have it in a biblical seething group as well on Telegram. But please do take it to the Father and get on your knees. We always have this mentality of, well, the world does it, it must be normal, it's okay, and I've got to read it the way that they read it because scriptures have twisted it, but you don't know that. We know that scriptures have been changed. The lying pen of the scribes have changed some stuff through the enemy to make Yahuah's children sin. Well, getting the appointed times wrong is one big thing, and I really believe the blood is another big thing, and I think that that's why, and I know that people won't like me saying it, but I really believe that the carnivore diet and eating as rare as you can and as much as you can, as much as you need, is like another ploy, a ploy from the enemy to make people just stay in sin. Yes, I know people have felt better from just eating meat with the blood or just eating vegetables and fruit and nuts and seeds. I know that people do feel well after going on to these extreme diet situations, and the reason I believe is they were in a pretty poor state to start with. They have just removed every single other processed food from the supermarket in plastic and containers and packages and whatever. They've removed all the dead milk. They've removed all the dead wheat that's taken all the fibre out. They've removed all the sugar, processed poisonous sugar. They've removed all of the flavourings, additives, poisons, pesticides, stuff. They've removed all that. Their body has just gone into a type of cleansing, whether it be just meat or whether it be just vegetables. They've removed the standard American, Australian diet. They've removed that and they've gone super clean, and the body has had a rest and it's detoxifying. Yeah, I thought I'd just say that as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a whole lot of sense, honestly. And you're right. Like, the
And
enemy likes to take. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
sorry, I just haven't even looked at any of. I have not looked at any of the comments. Sorry, I've been reading from my phone on scriptures. Yeah, I'll read back later.
But yeah, no, it makes a whole lot of sense. You know, excuse me. The enemy likes to use one extreme or the other, and we can do the same with it, you know. And the enemy likes to say one or the other. If you're not doing it this way, it's going to be a sin. So we see it, whether you do one, the other, or have a good mix of both. However you would like to do it, it's not going to be. You're not in sin. It's between you and the Father. And you know, you brought a lot of very good scripture, and you know, there's a lot of very good information in that tab you made as well. And you know, feel free to look. There's a lot of really great stuff in there. And, you know, thank you, Sister Germaine, for sharing.
Yeah, no worries. I just saw where Sumi does say that seething relates to judgment. I don't believe it relates to seething being a bad thing. After all the context of all the scriptures that I have read out, they knew that they had to seethe. All of the scriptures that I've read out is pretty much saying that's what they were doing. And the seething relating to judgment, the one that I was reading from Ezekiel, this is how it's meant to be done. Like he's going, you guys didn't take out the blood. There's bloodshed, and I'm not even going to cover your blood. Normally, that's what he would do. He would be covering the blood on the earth. Please, please, please take it to Yahuah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's everything to His word. Yeah, I believe you pointed out some very good verses there. And, you know, it's something to seriously consider because, you know, it does say do not consume the blood.
Any manner, any manner of blood. It says it a couple of times. None of it. So when you want to go scientific, there is still a remainder amount of blood in the flesh, in the capillaries, that will not drain out through the arteries. It still remains in the flesh. Actually, a lot of the portion of blood that doesn't come out through the draining through the arteries after being slaughtered correctly, a lot of it does get held within the organs. We don't eat animal organs. A lot of people going down the health route as such will scream bloody murder at me and blasphemy because they're relying on these organs of animals to like get all their health benefits and stuff like that. So we're not going to rely on the blood of bull and goats and everything for our health. We're relying on Yahuah. And once you remove all manner of blood from your diet, your body gets to be cleansed. There's actually, you know, there's science saying that having too much myoglobin is actually cancerous. A lot of people eating a lot of flesh with myoglobin and with blood do go down a bad path later on. And that's another thing that the plant-based people will not understand, and that's why they'll go, see, meat causes cancer. It's not the meat that causes the cancer. It's not the flesh. It is if it's not prepared properly, and the Father knows this. Once everything has been boiled out, you're actually covering yourself quite well, in the sense that you're taking, this meat that's going on out there, you're taking out a lot of junk from the meat, not only blood and fat, but you've got all sorts of nasties, and a lot of them are being grain fed, and this flesh isn't great anyway. But sorry, going on a ramble again. They're using people eating meat as supporting cancer, but the science actually does say that too much myoglobin is bad. It actually is cancerous. The Father knows that we need to remove the blood. We need to be clean, set apart, and pure. Sorry, I can just keep going.
No, no worries. No, it all makes a whole lot of sense. And, you make some very good points there, sister, truly.
I'm really sad that Katrina didn't take this on and study this back out 6 months ago when we first had that 2-hour conversation, Germaine. I think the enemy does have a really good way of sideswiping people and going, oh, but what about this topic over here? What about this topic over here? I really believe this is a huge necessary topic that needs to be dissected to get the full understanding. And as you can see in Jubilees, in chapter 6, it is the first covenant that was spoken of, and then more was added upon. It never took away from that original oath that they made. There's, even though we say, people say there's many covenants. Well, yeah, there is, but nothing ever goes away. It still stays, and it's the original, eternal covenant. And the enemy wants everyone tripped up.
That I definitely agree with. The enemy will put stumbling blocks on the road. He will make doctrine sound good that we shouldn't dive into. And, I can say I was definitely studying this out. What was it, 6 months ago? We were studying out together, me and her. And maybe we should have studied it more, and maybe this path that she has now gone down could have been totally avoided. But we need to keep her in prayer for sure, and
Yeah.
keep all of our brothers and sisters in prayer who this becomes a stumbling block to, and not what you're saying, but the different doctrines that come about.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying, it's backed by scriptures. There's scriptures for it, and we can see the evidence of it.
And it's not hard. It's not a burden.
Yeah. It can seem hard, but it's really it's overcoming that flesh, and how we've been brought up in Babylon, things like that. We're taught the traditions of men. And so when we're already in these things, it's hard to get out of them, So yeah, no, it's something to definitely consider and pray about. Take it to the Father, honestly.
Yeah.
And definitely pray for those who are headed down the wrong path.
Yeah.
I know it's getting pretty late for most.
Yeah. Sorry for going for so long.
No apologies necessary. You did a good job, sister. And, I appreciate the information. I'm sure many of us do.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for hearing me out, guys. Thanks
Yeah,
for not beating me
absolutely.
up.
Of course not. We love you, sister, and we love all of your input as well.
Yeah, thank you. We love you.
And
We all love each other, and sometimes we just, we have to just agree to disagree sometimes. But it's not about us. It's not about us. It's not about others. It's about Yahuah. And we do need to seek out our own salvation with fear and trembling, and we must be careful. We must be careful with the words that we do use. Potentially, if this is right, and you're telling people that it's wrong, and you're telling them you can consume flesh with the blood, you could be in danger of judgment as well. Sorry, I know this sounds really, extreme, but it's like the Christian thing that, I'm just seeing another thing where the Christians say, oh, well, I don't need to keep the commands fully because Jesus did it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I would prefer to hear on that day, great for you for keeping what you could and what you did and what you knew, keeping the commands and good and faithful servant, rather than, hey, you didn't keep my commands. It's similar to this. I would prefer to be taking out any manner of blood, and if you want to say it's a soggy, yucky taste to meat, so be it, whatever, I'll do that. But actually, I make a really damn good meal out of seethed meat, and if I had to remove meat altogether just to make sure I wasn't consuming any blood, because of my conviction, I would prefer to be telling people to not eat meat with the blood, flesh with the blood. I don't think that I would be held up for those particular sentences on Judgment Day. I hope you know where I'm going with that.
It's better to say than be sorry, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I don't want the blood to be on my hands, and he does say warn them. And I've come to the point where I think that I can, you know me. I'm that person that runs the other way and doesn't want any confrontation. I just run over in the corner and I'll put my hands over my ears when it comes to confrontation and arguments. But he's getting me to that point where I've just got to harden up. I feel like he has, put me on this purpose and this road to be able to share this with others. And I feel like it's going to be another one of those snowballs. Like, people are going to be actually waking up. I'm seeing a lot of people in comments saying, I'm having this urge that maybe I shouldn't be eating the kidneys, or, eating organs, or, that people are questioning. The Ruach is actually starting to question. The hearts are starting to get prepared. And that is something that we have been praying for. So now I'm just going to pull up my socks. I'm going to put my big boy boots on and just try to be that trooper and go with the punches. Katrina's always been such an inspiration on, going in there to battle with the best way that she knew how, on the topics that she believed in at the time or whatever. But I've kind of learned a lot from Katrina. So thank you, Katrina. I love you very much, and I know you'll be listening. I just pray and hope that you will put all things to prayer and not to follow after doctrines of men, to really seek you on this, and to not fall into the wrong, unclean rabbit hole. And it's just, it's okay to say no and turn around, and to probably just please read these scriptures. The Father can use you in this particular way. Sorry.
You know, I'm in full agreement. We love our sister. We want our sister back. And you know, I'm not going to go into too much details, but it's more than just this that she's going down the wrong path on. And you know, I definitely please pray for her that Yahuah opens her eyes and she turns
Yes.
and repents. And you know, we care so much about her, and you know, as you can see, she means a great deal to every single one of us in here. So, you know, please, I would like to add, you know, please, Father, you know, I'm pleading for her as well. You know, please help
And
her to
Lee.
open up, and Lee, and anybody else who may be falling for this as well. You know, please open their eyes. Let them come back to the narrow path and see the path that they're going down is only leading to destruction.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, thank you for sharing, sister. I know it takes a lot for you to share, and you know, just keep at it. You know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And
Thank you for giving
you
me
know,
the time.
yeah, anytime. And sorry, it was just that. But you know, thank you for taking your time as well and taking time out of your day and rearranging schedule to be able to do this. Very much appreciated. And yeah, you did a great.
Shalom, everyone.
Well, thank you all for joining. I will schedule, you know, our usual fellowship for Shabbat, and we will go over more in depth of, you know, Rabbi Akiva, the Council of Jamnia, all these different councils that have really twisted and corrupted scriptures. There's evidence of that. So, yeah, no, thank you all for coming. Read and chat again, sorry. Goodness. But anyways, no, thank you all for coming. You know, it's a very important topic. Very important to discuss these things and come together about these things. Come together to pray for all our brothers and sisters. And I know it's been really rough for a lot of people lately. And, you know, we all truly need each other. And like the group's message now is, it's, you know, we are our brother's keeper. So, you know, if one of us falls, you know, we got 5 of us there to help lift them up, you know, and that's how it should be. So, yeah, no, I appreciate every one of you. I love each and every one of you. And Yahuah bless you. And may you guys all have a blessed rest of your evenings or your days, or wherever you are at. And I appreciate you all. Thank you all. Shalom, everybody.